Plan your next trip with Ride Norfolk. Ride Norfolk operates an on-demand transit service across Norfolk County from Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy the podcast today.
Advantage Athletic Therapy, personalized rehabilitation programs with a whole body approach. Enjoy the podcast.
January 2026, a show with Craig from Cousins. We made it another year, buddy. Congratulations. I don't know how we did it.
Me either, and thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here, Dave. Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New
We're
Year.
past it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I want to bug you today because I got something that's been eating at me, and I'd like to get your thought process on this. And it's just, it's kind of one of those things with my business where sometimes clients, they're not the most cooperative, and I always try and, listen, bend my ear, and try and help them where I can. And it seems sometimes that the appreciation doesn't get full forward. I mean, in your business and my business, we're constantly dealing with the public and clients, and that's important because we need them. They're our bread and butter. They make it go around. But, I sometimes question the humility and integrity of people because I don't know if they're, you can't just give stuff away for free. And that's what I always tell them. I can't give it away for free. I gotta feed my family too. And are you seeing the same thing in your business, or is it just me? I'm just curious. I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, Dave, I think it's everything in the world right now. Definitely, I think we're seeing an economic, impact come together. I think the tariff, everything you're catching up. I think, we as society have been unfortunately, put in fear as far as economics goes, as far as dollars go, as far as savings go. The future's unpredictable, save for tomorrow, and that all makes sense, and it is correct. But at the same time, too, yes, it is very difficult. We are seeing a big influx in people that are looking for help, but are already, in a real bind, in a real predicament, and are coming forward in a very, very aggressive manner. As opposed to before, where we would get phone calls saying, "Craig, we need help. We've got no heat. We don't know what to do." And now it's very, very aggressive. And again, I know we've talked about this on other shows, but most specifically in the past month, just coming through the holidays, it's a very tight time for everybody. I get that. I understand that. But the amount of calls that we are getting that are jobs that were done by outside providers, that their customers are upset because it hasn't worked, or there's been mistakes or warranty issues again that nobody's honoring. And then they show up here and now they're already frustrated. And I get that.
Yeah.
And we want to do our job to try and help, but it is getting, yes, tempers are rising.
I got to admit too, like one thing I really appreciate about you guys, and a few years ago, you guys helped me with some wood stove parts, was the customer service. I mean, Deb at the time just was phenomenal in finding the part that I needed and telling me the cost and getting it organized for me. And I just don't know, like, I think that's one of the things that as a general public, I wish they would appreciate more. Like the understanding of the person that you're talking to on the phone. They might be having a crappy day too, but they're trying to do their best to help you. And I think that's important sometimes. The public sometimes, and I get exactly what you're saying, they're upset when they're on the phone. It's not that your companies did this work, it's somebody else's. And they're trying to vent. And I understand that for sure. You should vent. But remember, the other person at the other end of the line wants to help you be successful in what the situation is to correct that problem that you may be having. So I got a quick kudos to your staff, man. Phenomenal when they come out and the stuff that they do. Got to send that. Remind folks, that when you get somebody that comes into your home that helps you, they're there to help you.
Well, absolutely. And we're here to help no matter what, whether we got the work or not, but also understanding that, the reality of today is whether it's my business or your business or anything like that, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking for, an accredited, local business, I can go online, and whether it's just me in a truck and that's it, and I work out of my garage, or whether I've got a massive corporation, I can make myself look like $100 million business online. So when you do your research online, folks, really, really look at, location proximity. Look at, how are they doing the warranties? Is it through the company itself, or is it actually the manufacturer that's going through? The increase in service calls that we have had for work that's been done outside of us within the past, say, 5 years or less of installs. So, in other words, the company they went with that did the install is not returning or not honoring warranty because they're saying, oh, no, that's manufacturer. It's got nothing to do with us. Call somebody else, is drastically increasing, to which in turn, then obviously the homeowner is frustrated, but at the same time, too, now it's cost the homeowner even more money than had they have gone with, say, myself or another local competitor. But by using an outside guy or using somebody that they found online that has a very good deal and has good reviews, whether those reviews are, family, friends, whichever, it doesn't matter. It's not saying they do bad work, but the fact of the matter is that the bigger, more established companies like us are seeing a drastic increase. And that's very frustrating to you as a homeowner, as to any homeowner, because these are nuisance calls. I mean,
Yeah,
it's when we get into, the heating and the cooling aspect, it is a need, not a want, but it's not an attractive piece. It's not a flashy thing. It's not something here, but it's not cheap.
it's a necessity.
Exactly. It's a necessity. And through new government regulations for efficiency, the parts are not cheap. So, install is vital, service is vital. But when we use people that are the better deal up front on the dollar, might not better be the better deal in the long run. And unfortunately, in the past 2 months, not just myself specifically, but my industry has reported, specifically in Ontario, a huge increase in service of equipment that should be within the installation warranty that is now being followed up and done by outside contractors, meaning not the same guy that returned. So please keep in mind, folks, in doing your research and budget. This is a weird analogy, but my uncle's a veterinarian, and he says, hey, before anybody gets a pet, you should have $3,000 in savings as an emergency fee.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong with that pet or something here, if you choose to use outside or out of town contractors that have a better dollar value up front for the installation product like that, that is okay. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that's going to say you're going to have a problem. But statistically speaking, you should also have a repair budget set aside. Whereas a local company who has doors that you can walk through has no choice but to stand behind their work.
I have a quick, this will be my last question. I know you got to go, you're busy, but I got to wonder, because all this conversation we're having about the public and everything, it boils down to me, what is it that makes integrity so important to you? Like, I mean, you actually give a care when somebody doesn't have heat, when you go out on the road, when you supply them with heaters, when you help them out. Like, where does that boil down from? Is that your upbringing? Is that just who you are? Why?
Definitely, it's part of my upbringing. I mean, I'm 3 generations doing this, and the fact of the matter is again that what we do is a need, not a want. You
Yeah.
need to have heat. You need to have hot water for sanitation purposes. You need to have air conditioning. Especially if you have any respiratory issues. It's something that my family is very passionate about, and I've been raised that way. And now that I have an opportunity and have had an opportunity for the past almost 7 years now as the owner myself, it's something that I've always carried very true and strong. And we stand behind our installs. I mean, we've been open about this before, and we'll say it again. I mean, our installs, anything within the first year, if we install a piece of equipment and it fails or there's something wrong, there's zero cost to you at all. Even if it's at 7 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, we don't charge for that, because that's the integrity and the quality that we stand behind as a company, that we want to be around for, another generation, God willing, my kids or something like that. It's important for us. It is also important for me as the leader of this company to lead by example and to show my staff. So that way, every house we go into, our saying around here, and you can ask any of my guys off camera, away from here, and they'll tell you, what does Craig say every house is that we go into? Every single house we go into is grandma's house. Because at grandma's, nobody cuts corners, nobody cheaps out, nobody does a side job with a friend and says, oh, we can make this work. Every job gets taken like you're at grandma's house, because everybody has the utmost respect for, and integrity. And that's literally what we do. And I'm not the only guy out here that does this and has that same ethics and integrity. We've got other really good competitors that do as well. But the fact of the matter is that right now, given many, many, many reasons, world reasons, economic reasons, whatever it may be, people are choosing the latter and then ending up paying for it in the long run much, much more, as opposed to just finding somebody that is around. Some of my biggest competitors, people are like, well, how come they can do a job in half a day and it takes you guys a full day? With all due respect, my competitors get to pay their guys piecework. So that employee gets paid $200 for that day. whether he's done at noon, whether he's done at 10 a.m., or whether he's done at 10 p.m., and the company does not care. And so, what type of integrity and quality is behind that? And we are seeing a drastic increase. But with that, because they're doing that, that's where they can get so competitive on their pricing and say, oh, well, yeah, Craig's, 5,000 and we're 4,200. Okay. But with that, it's a tail light warranty, and my guy will be in and out, and the installation quality is not here because he's only getting paid X amount of dollars no matter what. And he's only being given so much material to do that job on, nothing extra. And if there is more, then that's an addition, or we just don't do it and just get the unit working. And this is where corners get cut. And that's where, in the long run, it ends up costing more money.
I know that you have did it a long time. I didn't realize you guys were 3 generations in. That just speaks volumes to knowing what you're dealing with on every level. Like, that's just a different level. And I don't think people I didn't know that. That's great to share with the public too, because that tells us a lot about who your family is and why it is important. And I didn't know that. You've seen everything then. Basically, you've seen every kind of furnace imaginable. Let's just say that way.
Everything, yes, absolutely. It's the, yeah, 3 generations deep of furnaces that back in the day when my grandfather started doing this, Dave, you could go to Home Hardware and buy the furnace yourself, and there's only
Yeah.
2. There was a 100,000 BTU and a 50,000, a little one, a big one, and you would, and you would hire him to install it, or you could even install it yourself, and then you would hire him to come and inspect it. And the unit itself had 9 working components. That's
That
it.
was it. Oh
That
my
was it.
goodness.
The word efficiency didn't exist.
No. It was just
The house was so drafty that you could just connect pipe on top of a pipe and throw tape on it, and that was good for venting. Because you didn't need to worry about CO because the house was already,
it was vented enough. It wasn't so
right.
sealed up.
And we've seen everything from that, all the way, from gravity furnaces to,
Yeah.
the old style with just so many, so many. And
Is
and it's 3
can you
generations that it's
can you comfortably say there's something for everybody in their budget realistically these days, or is that gone too?
absolutely. No, there definitely is, but it takes a respectful business owner to help them get it there, because there
Right.
definitely is. It's just a matter of what's the right fit, not only for your comfort, but also for your budget. And that's one of the 2
And
most important things that I talk about when I do a sales process, because when it comes to manufacturing style and safeties, those are already dictated. The way that the equipment has to be made, government regulations, the efficiency levels, government regulations, the safeties that it must have, government regulations. So it comes down to, first and foremost, your comfort, because the most top of the line furnace to the cheapest furnace right now in the industry in Canada, there's 3% difference in efficiency.
really?
That's it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
95% is the bare minimum we're allowed to sell and operate. 98% is the most efficient furnace out there. So
That's cool.
it is cool, but it's not like before where I would come to you and say, "Hey, Dave, if you buy this one that's more expensive, it's going to save you 20% at the end of the year." It's not the way they work anymore, right? And a lot of things, as far as equipment goes too, is when we look at our utility costs. A lot of our utility costs aren't even the utilities; it's all the bloody service fees that
Yes,
are,
you got
right?
that right.
So that's where
Mm.
some people say too, "Oh, well, if I go this one, it's going to save me money here or there." Not necessarily the case, and that's where, one of the biggest things that I do as doing the sales here as the owner, and a lot of my good competitors do too, is 60 to 70% of our sales process is just education, and then
Yeah.
30% is presenting options.
Yeah.
And that's the integrity, that's the quality that we want to bring to the forefront, because first and foremost, as a business owner and somebody that is prepared to stand behind my work and our install and our equipment, I want to make sure that the piece that we pick or you pick is the most benefit for your comfort and your budget. Because again, my options are narrow now. So I want to fit to you, right? And that's where we can do that now. And we can find any budget. The average cell phone bill now is over $100 a month. They
Yeah.
say it's anywhere between $94 to $115 a month is the average. I could do a brand new furnace for less than $90 a month on a finance, with a decade of warranty, right? With your cell phone, you don't have that kind of warranty,
That you
but you got to
connect
pay.
that you can connect to your cell phone.
Exactly, 100%, exactly. So I mean,
That's the
so
craziness of it all.
it really is. It really is.
I agree
And
with you. That's priorities has got it. Like you said, it's not sexy. I like that you said that because
Mhm,
it's a necessity that we have to understand and appreciate and educate ourselves on enough to understand it. And I honestly, 4 or 5 houses I've had over my lifetime, every furnace was different and everyone had different problems. And I always, you're trying to figure it out, right? It
mhm.
is that process. And if you don't take the time, you're screwed because you're
Yeah,
paying
that's right. That's right.
just for the inefficiencies, not,
Just for
not even the contractors, but I mean, those types
well,
of things that you learn.
exactly, and that's where, by having somebody that is, reputable and is gonna stand behind their install and not just disappear, or not just say, "Oh, no, you've got warranty, but you gotta go somewhere else," as far as service goes, that those are vital things. I mean, it doesn't matter what piece of equipment you go to regarding HVAC, furnace, air conditioner, whichever, heat pump, boiler, all manufacturers will tell you that the most important day of that equipment's life is the day it's installed. If one piece of the algorithm of installing it is off, can affect the entire life expectancy of that piece of equipment.
See, I'm gonna argue on that one on my last point because it's January, my dogs have been in the house all winter. I need to go check that filter. To me, that's
Yeah,
the most important. Right? I mean, if I don't
that's a
check
good one.
that,
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
mean, why is it not running right? It's as
That's
simple as
right.
that, a furnace filter, right?
That very true.
Especially with your pups and my pups, yeah.
Definitely.
We're domesticated that way, aren't we?
Yes.
Man, I mean, we gotta do this again, and because I like getting into the integrity issues and the nuts and bolts of people because I think understanding them is kind of what we have to do in our jobs. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate you, exposing some of that and explaining it to me and having that conversation about it because I don't think enough people understand. Sometimes I think people forget as business owners that we take a little bit, we take it personal too sometimes. We want to help you. That's our jobs. But thanks for
Definitely.
doing this, Craig. I really appreciate it.
Thank you as always, Dave. It's always a pleasure to be here.